भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति सुपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागररघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरि ओम सत् सत्। हरे कृष्णा। So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 48. So welcome all the devotees for today's Bhagavad Gita session. So chapter 18, text 48. Sahajam karma kaunteya saddosham api natyajet sarvarambha hi doshena dhumena agnir ivavritah. Okay. Venkatesh Prabhu and Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Sajam karma kaunteya sadosham api natyajet sarvarambha hi doshena dhumena agnir ivavritah.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature. O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. So Krishna is telling our endeavor should be there. Even it may not be perfect. You know, whatever we are doing, we may not be perfect in that endeavor, but still we should do that work. We should not ignore or disregard that, thinking that it is not coming perfectly. Why should I do that? So one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. In conditioned life, all work is contaminated by material modes of nature. Even if one is a Brahmana, he has to perform sacrifices in which animal killing is necessary. Similarly, a Kshatriya, however pious he may be, has to fight enemies. He cannot avoid it. Similarly, a merchant, however pious he may be, must sometimes hide his profit to stay in business, or he may sometimes have to do business on the black market. These things are necessary, avoid them. Similarly, even though a man is Shudra serving a bad master, he has to carry out the order of the master, even though it should not be done. Despite these flaws, one should continue to carry out his prescribed duties, for they are born out of his own nature. So if we read this Srila Prabhupada, we think, we'll take it as granted. Yes, these are all allowed. Isn't it? What is your understanding from this para? In conditioned life, each one of us on different platforms of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, we are influenced by certain modes of material nature. And we cannot avoid doing any duty born out of that particular nature. So in that situation, we may have to sometimes cheat others, we may have to say some lies, or we may have to forcibly do something even though we may not like, just like the servant serving the masters. The master may exploit the servant. So in that situation, so what do we understand from this purport? How do we take this? Prabhupada writes, similarly, merchant, however pious he may be, must sometimes hide the profit to stay in business. He may sometimes have to do business on the black market. So is it really giving a clean chit to do this? How do we take this? And sometimes sacrifices in which animal killing is necessary. How do we understand this in the right perspective? Yes, devotees. Anybody wants to share their thought? How we can go about?
Question one more.
Yes.
One more time.
What is that?
One more time question.
The question is, then Prabhupada says, in the material world, in conditioned life, we are all bound by the different modes. We are governed by different modes of material nature. So when we are acting under the clutches of material nature, we may have to sometimes cheat others, say lies. Sometimes Brahmanas have to sacrifice as the animal, and sometimes we may have to do the black market business, and sometimes we may have to hide the profit. Sometimes we may have to be forced by the masters who exploit the servants. It happens. So what do we understand? Is it that we have to take it as granted that we have to do like that, or how do we accept this statement of Prabhupada? How do we take it in Krishna conscious life? This is not happening definitely in the material world, especially in the Kali Yuga. We cannot expect 100% sincerity, honesty from anybody, even from us, because we are all controlled by different modes, either in goodness or passion or ignorance, or in the mixed mode. So in that condition, how do we react? How do we proact? How do we conduct ourselves? Having come to Krishna consciousness, how do we do that? How do we accept others?
Hare Krishna. The ultimate aim is to please Krishna. So whatever it is happening around us, it to be take as that it is all arrangement of Krishna and go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Sarvapalak Prabhu, you have something to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I'm not sure. I'm just trying.
Yeah.
Sometimes yes, we have to, like an example, like Shudra, who is having a bad boss. Sometimes he will have to do also the sin, or he has to support. He will have to support his master maybe sometimes, but the thing what I feel that whatever we do, we have to, if we understand that it is a sin, then we should try to avoid it as much as possible, not to perform any sinful activities. But if it is not possible to avoid that particular activity, then we have to ask the help of Krishna only, and we have to tell Krishna that Krishna, I am not able to, for example, I have heard, like after taking initiation, even some Maharajas used to say, if your job is not, or if your job is involved in any sinful activities, like selling non-veg items or whatever, So we have to try to avoid that such kind of jobs. But if that is not possible, then we have to ask forgiveness from Krishna, and we should try to do some prayaschitta or some because whatever money we are getting from that particular activity, we should use that in Krishna's service, so that that some kind of you know uh, some sinful actions will be, I mean, neutralized, or some bad effects can be minimized in that way. That's what I feel, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anybody else want to share their understanding? Yes, Prabhuji's and Mataji's, because it's a subject matter, because every one of us are in this situation. Nobody is pure, isn't it? Either we are subjected to this kind of acts by somebody else, or we ourselves are indulging in. Nobody is Harishchandra here. Is there anybody? Okay, we may have to sometimes cheat somebody. We have to sometimes tell lie, although we are practicing Krishna consciousness. Okay, we are trying our level best not to do that. But under such situation, what should be our course of action? This is my question. How do we react? We have to treat ourselves separately from the people in the society who are not practicing Krishna consciousness. We have to separate ourselves from those people who are not practicing Krishna consciousness. We are all practicing Krishna conscious devotees, but we are not, in the pure mode of goodness or goodness. We may be in different modes because we are also under certain modes of nature, because that is what we have brought forward from our previous lives. So how do we go about it while living in the society, and especially in the age of Kali? Yes, devotees, who else want to share? Parag Prabhu, you are there? In the office, okay. Mataji, want to say something? Okay. Rajesh Prabhu, Venkatesh Prabhu, Kapil Prabhu. Kapil Prabhu, yes, I think Kapil Prabhu is there.
Prabhuji, I am driving actually.
Yeah,
Sorry, I am driving right now, so just hearing Prabhuji.
yeah. You got the questions, no? Because we have read this para, the purport written by Prabhupada. You read this?
Sorry, I
Yeah.
think Kapil Prabhu is driving. He said he's driving.
Oh, yeah, he's driving. Okay. No problem. Okay, I didn't understand that. Okay, fine. Anyway, let us discuss further. I'll once again read, okay, this purport so that it is clear for all of us. In conditioned life, all work is contaminated by material modes of nature. So it's clear, because we are living in the age of Kali. And whatever we do, it may not be perfect. It is contaminated to a certain degree, by different modes in which we are acting upon. Okay. So even if one is Brahmana, he has to perform sacrifice in which animal killing is necessary. So Prabhupada is telling animal killing is necessary here. So people may ask, then why can't we? So that's why we have to discuss this in length. The Brahmanas. So what sort of sacrifice is that? Because this is, Prabhupada is writing because Brahmanas' main duty is to do, advise the other classes of people, the Kshatriyas, to rule, and they have to do homas, yajnas, sacrifice for the betterment of the society. So what sort of killing is that? If a Brahmana is qualified to do sacrifice an animal, so what sort of sacrifice? It is, first of all, we have to understand that it is not for our sense gratification. This animal sacrifice is not meant for sense gratification. It's not to kill an animal and just to eat and satisfy the tongue and other senses. So what sort of sacrifice? Sacrifice done, by chanting the Vedic hymns. It is allowing that sacrifice animal to get a better body and to test the power of the chanting of the mantra and the quality of the Brahmana. So for that, animal killing is necessary. It's not just like how ordinarily the butchers are, killing the animal. They sacrifice the animal by chanting the Vedic hymns. So two things are there. Just one is to check or test the power of the mantras that they are chanted. Okay, and the second thing is the slaughtered animal, the sacrifice animal is getting a rejuvenated body, means a better body, so that their cycle reduces. Okay, they immediately get a human body from where they can practice Krishna consciousness. So that is one thing. Okay, this is the sacrifices that Brahmana is to do, not to slaughter animal for their sense gratification. Similarly, Kshatriya, however pious he may be, he has to fight enemies, because we know the duty of the Kshatriya is to protect the citizens. Okay, so in that, violence is necessary. So here we have to understand that Kshatriyas are not supposed to kill anybody or harm anyone, because they have got the power or strength. They should not exploit for their sense gratification. They should do to protect the citizens. For that, if it is required, they can exercise violence, just like the police force, the defense force. If some enemies are attacking our country, definitely the defense have to protect us from the enemies. So in that course of action, they may have to kill the opposing parties. It is allowed. Similarly, the police, some anti-social elements are disturbing the society, innocent people. So the police have to show violence there to protect the citizens. Okay? So they cannot avoid it. They cannot avoid, I'm doing a sin, how can I fight? Oh, somebody is, one Mataji is going and one person is snatching the purse and running. So the police should not say, no, I don't want to harm this person, I am a sattvic person. Will that work? There he has to act immediately. He has to immediately, if the culprit doesn't listen, immediately he may have to even shoot. So that is not a crime. It's not a violence. It is to protect the citizens. Similarly, a merchant, however pious he may be, must sometimes hide the profit to stay in business. Or he may sometimes have to do business on the black market. So the occupation of the Vaishyas is business, mercantile class. So they may have to hide certain secrets of their trade. Sometimes they may have to hide the profit that they are making, because they want to make some profit out of it. So they may hide the actual truth, the price of the things. And sometimes they may have to do black market business. It is not willingly, because they are also under that particular nature. Okay, these things are necessary and one cannot avoid them. Similarly, even though a man is Shudra serving bad master, he has to carry out the order. Suppose we are working for a master, okay, and the master is exploiting us. We may have to tolerate to a certain level that exploitation, because we know that master is also under the clutches of certain guna. So these are all just acceptable in the society, because we are in the Kali Yuga and people around us are not Krishna conscious. But as Krishna conscious practicing devotees, how do we act upon such situation? For example, suppose we are Vaishyas, okay, we are doing business, but as Krishna conscious practicing devotees, we have to see that maximum we don't cheat others. It's not that we should not make profit out of business. We cannot run business without profit. But see that unlike the so-called people in the society, we should not cheat. But at the same time, we have to make profit also. But we should minimize the cheating business, the telling lies things to the minimum extent possible, because we're also governed by certain rules and regulations. Since we know the Siddhanta, okay, the principles of Vaishyas, as we are doing business, we may have to sell lies to a certain, but we have to minimize it. And as we progress further, we'll be able to practice Krishna without even cheating, without even telling lies. We will be able to do business and at the same time make profit. So it's definitely an art, but initially as practice devotees, it not be possible. And suppose we are working as servants in somebody's, we are all in different capacities. So we are serving a master who is totally a person from the worldly society, is not practicing. So we may be subject to some level of exploitation from the master. So we may have to tolerate that. We cannot expect that person, the master, to behave like a devotee. So we have to intensely pray so that if we get a good master also. As practicing devotees, suppose as Sarvapala Prabhu rightly said, that we may have to work in certain places which is contrary to the forex. So in that case, what we have to do? We have to pray intensely to get a good job where we don't indulge in such sinful activities, directly at least. Indirectly, every one of us in this material world are involved in one of these indirectly, because when we are working for such masters, we are supporting them. The masters may be indulging in such activities. That means when we are working for such masters, we are indirectly supporting them. We are also indirectly, but at least we have to see that directly we are not involved in such activities. That's why even when Guru Maharaj asks, where you are working, so we are working in a supermarket. Okay, yeah, so which department? For example, butchery department. I am not directly involved, but I am, just billing, invoice in this, and then he will tell, okay, if they are directly involved, you have to change. But then at least see that you try to change the department where you are not even indirectly involved in such activities. So this is, as Sarvapala Prabhu rightly said, so we have to have that intense desire so that we don't, at least directly or indirectly, involved in such gross sinful activities. So these things are there, such things will happen in this material world. That's why Prabhupada is telling, as practicing devotees, we have to accept this. People are like that. People are like that. People around us are like that. We have to accept this fact. We cannot change them. So what is possible? We can change ourselves. How we can change? As far as possible, we have to minimize getting involved in this mode. And we have to situate ourselves in the mode of goodness as far as possible. So if you are in the mode of ignorance or passion, we have to bring ourselves into the mode of goodness. As practicing devotees, this is what we have to do. We cannot change the world. We cannot change the people, because they are born out of that particular mode of nature. Even we are trying to improve ourselves because we know what is what. That's why Prabhupada is saying. So we should not take it as, oh, Prabhupada this purport that this is all necessary, killing is necessary, but for what? Violence is necessary for what? And again, the black market and this all. But we have to avoid as far as possible because we are Krishna conscious practicing devotees. The society may be running like that, but we should not be a part of that society involving ourselves in such activities. Does it make any sense? Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Others, what about other devotees? Hare Krishna, is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So only we can change ourselves. We cannot change the people around us. We cannot change the society. They will be governed. They will be influenced by different modes, and they will be acting. And we cannot blame them also. So what is possible is we can change ourselves as far as possible to the maximum extent and come to the mode of goodness. So that for us the improvement, advancement in spiritual life will be better. If we don't try to change ourselves, if we also become one among the people in the society, then there will be no improvement for us. So we have to change. We have to slowly and gradually, not that overnight we can change us. Slowly and gradually we have to change. So this is required. So one should not mistake the purport that Prabhupada has given in this. That is why I wanted to clear it. So a very nice example is given herein. Although fire is pure, still there is smoke. Okay, so the smoke is covering the fire. Fire is goodness, smoke is ignorance. Yet smoke does not make the fire impure. Okay, the smoke does not make the fire impure. Even though there is smoke in the fire, fire is still considered to be purest of all elements. If one prefers to give up the work of Kshatriya and take up the occupation of Brahmana, he is not assured that in the occupation of Brahmana there are no unpleasant duties. Sometimes people think, oh, this is Shudra job, this is Kshatriya job, this is Vaishya job. So Brahmana's job is better. So let me take a Brahmana job. But I am still under the influence of ignorance. Okay, and I want to take up the Brahmana job which should be in the mode of goodness. It is not possible. That's why Prabhupada is giving a clear indication that so better be situated where you are and do that particular duty. Don't try to imitate somebody else's occupation. Even if I am doing my duty, my occupation imperfectly, it is better to do that instead of imitating somebody else's work. So in every situation, in every varna or ashrama, there are unpleasant duties. One may have to do that. So one may then conclude that in the material world, no one can be completely free from the contamination of material nature. This example of fire and smoke is very appropriate in this connection. When in winter time, one takes a stone from the fire, sometimes smoke disturbs the eyes and the other parts of the body, but still one must make use of the fire despite disturbing conditions. Similarly, one should not give up his natural occupation because there are some disturbing elements. So nobody wants to, work if, especially when we are practicing devotees, we may have to do to a certain degree some element of in the mode of some element in the mode of passion or ignorance, but we should not. There's no other way. We should not avoid. We cannot avoid that. Rather, one should be determined to serve the Supreme Lord by occupational duty in Krishna. So, what is our motive? Is how we can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that should be our, attitude, our motto. That is a perfection point. When a particular type of occupation is performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, all the defects in that particular occupation are purified. So when we are doing that particular activity just for the pleasure of Supreme Lord, even though we may be faulty, we may commit some mistakes, so that is not counted, because it is our intention is just to satisfy the Supreme Lord, not for any name, fame, or satisfaction of the senses. So all the defects in that particular occupation are purified. When the results of work are purified, when connected with devotional service, one becomes perfect in seeing oneself within, and that is self-realization. Previously, when we go for some, for example, fund collection. Okay, suppose there is a temple project, we are going for fund collection. Okay, previously, when we go for a fund collection, then so it is my project, and I am doing this project of constructing the temple. So we cannot ask, but now we know we are not asking for it. It is a Krishna conscious activity. It's a devotional service. There's no problem. We can go and ask. If we get it, well and good. If we don't get it, no problem. Still, we are not trying to satisfy our senses, but we are trying to serve the Supreme Lord. So we should not, oh, how can I ask that person? If I am doing it for myself, then I may feel okay, bit hesitant to ask. But I am doing a service. There is no harm in asking. If you approach even a mundane person, materialistic person, try your luck. Ask, and if he gets, it is for his purification also at the same time. We are serving him by purifying his money, which may have been tainted with some sinful activities, that also gets purified. So when we are asking for ourselves, yes, we should not ask. But if we are doing a devotional service, we can go and try. There is no harm in that. So whatever activity we are doing, if it is for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, then you can state. So, we may be successful, we may not be successful, but still we can try and satisfy the Supreme Lord. So we have to understand this purport in the right perspective. It's not a clean sheet that we can engage in telling lie or cheating people, or engage in black market for our sense gratification. So that is wrong. As practicing devotees, we have to minimize those things, and we have to come to the platform of goodness. And for devotional service, even if we may have to say lie, it's not permitted, but even if it is meant for serving the Supreme Lord, and if at all there is any fault, any imperfection, the Supreme Lord will take care of it. But we have to make it sure it is not for us that we are doing that, it is for devotional service. So this is what I understand from this purport. Any other comments? Somebody wants to share something?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dharmata Pranam, Kapil.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I'm in parking, so I thought let me share just one thought. Prabhuji, as you said about this non-veg selling in the supermarket, I remember, Prabhuji, this, Mukesh Ambani's Reliance supermarket, so they do not sell, and even something they were selling earlier, they completely stopped, and, they avoid even egg or any things like that.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good action, right, Prabhuji? Like Reliance supermarket don't sell anything such
Good.
thing.
Yeah, it's a good idea. So even if devotee, suppose we want to enter into business, we want to open a supermarket. It's a norm that every supermarket sells everything, anything and everything. Suppose as practicing devotees, we are starting a supermarket. So what should be, as Kapil Prabhu rightly said, Reliance are avoiding all such things. So we can also start a supermarket, but we should not engage in the selling of such items. That much we can do. Supermarket generally means everything will be there, but no, okay, it is a norm of the society that we should, as practicing devotees, what we can do, at least we can avoid these things which are prohibited, which are harmful for the society, for the people's consciousness, and for our spiritual advancement. So these things also, we can still do business, we can still make profit. So avoid these things which are really contaminating our consciousness. So as practicing devotees, we can do that. So Reliance is a very good step, because there are also pious people, these owners, so they are doing whatever is possible within their capacity. Thank you, Prabhuji. Good. Yeah, restaurant, Govindas. Okay, so we can also do business, restaurant business, hotel business. So what? So all sattvic food, offered food. So there's no harm. Good, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. So any other points? Okay, so shall we go to the next verse?
Yes, Prabhuji. When you said Govindas, Matki
Yeah.
or Prabhu, or Matki.
Matki, yeah. Matki, yes. Okay. 1849. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spruha naishkarmya siddhim paramam sanyasena adhigacchati. Yes, Mayuri Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spraha naisha karmya siddhim mam sanyasena adhigacchati.
Okay, children, are there? Translation?
No, Prabhuji. I will read.
Okay.
One who is self-controlled and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments, can obtain by practice of
Renunciation.
renunciation, the highest perfect stage of freedom from religion.
Very good. One who is self-controlled. and unattached and who disregards all material enjoyments can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. So slowly and gradually we have to move towards self-control, and we should get unattached to the material things. So this is just a purificatory process. So it all depends how fast we want to advance. So then if you want to advance fast, we have to practice Krishna consciousness sincerely, very attentively, along with the devotees, practicing devotees. Alone it is very difficult. So we need company. Just like Prabhupada always says, if there is one stick, you can break it very easily. If there is a bunch of sticks, you cannot break. So association matters. So if you want to practice sincerely, then we need the association of the devotees, and sometimes we should be chastised, and sometimes we should be, scolded by the senior devotees. There should be somebody, for every one of us, there should be somebody senior to take care of us. This is devotee care for our improvement in spiritual life. So real renunciation means that one should always think himself part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and therefore think that he has no right to enjoy the results of his work. Since he is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, the results of his work must be enjoyed by the Supreme Lord. This is actually Krishna consciousness. The person acting in Krishna consciousness is really a sannyasi, one in the renounced order of life. By such a mentality, one is satisfied because he is actually acting for the Supreme. In the previous chapter, itself, I think, about the Tyagi and Sannyasi, in the previous chapter or this chapter? I think previous chapter, right? Anyway, so we, there is a, who is better, a Tyagi or Sannyasi? What are the different roles of Tyagi and Sannyasi? So here, Prabhupada is saying the person acting in Krishna consciousness is really Sannyasi. Why Sannyasi? Because he is not just renouncing the fruit of activity. The very life is dedicated for Krishna consciousness. Okay? So that's why one should really be a sannyasi. One in renounced order life, because he has nothing, no private life. For a sannyasi, there is no private life. He has a transparent life, and whatever activities he is doing for Krishna's satisfaction. So by such a mentality, one is satisfied because he is actually acting for the Supreme. Thus, he is not attached to anything material. He becomes accustomed to not taking pleasure in anything beyond the transcendental happiness derived from the service of Lord. So what is his only this thing? So whatever satisfaction, happiness, that he derives by satisfying the senses of the Supreme Lord. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhakti Ruchite. Okay, so we all get pleasure by serving the Supreme Lord, just like the parents get pleasure or happiness by serving the children. Even though it may be some difficult task bringing up the children, taking care of the children. They have to take some austerities. Okay, so sometimes they have to leave aside the sleep and some comfort zone. They have to take some trouble in taking out, but what they get, they derive pleasure, happiness by serving their children. Similarly, we are all children of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by satisfying the Supreme Lord senses, we get satisfaction for our senses also. We may have to take some austerity for that, but doesn't matter. But when we see that the Supreme Lord is satisfied, we also have that contentment and pleasure and happiness. So a sannyasi is supposed to be free from the reactions of his past activities. But a person who is in Krishna consciousness automatically attains this perfection without even accepting the so-called order of renunciation. So sannyasi is just a ashrama, okay, that one can take once you come to that platform. But it is not a must that we have to take that attire. But one can, even without taking that attire, that position as a sannyasi, even in the grahastha ashrama or vanaprastha ashrama or brahmacharya ashrama, they can be like a sannyasi if all the activities are dotted for the satisfaction of Supreme Lord. So it is just a tradition that we accept as a sannyasi order. No, but even in the grahasthasrama, it is possible to live a sannyasi life. This state of mind is called yoga rudha, or the perfectional stage of yoga. Confirmed in the third chapter, Yastva Atmaratir eva syat, one who is satisfied in himself, has no fear of any kind of reaction from his activity. So any points, any further points from this para? Okay, we'll go to the next. 50. Siddhim prapto yatha brahma tatapnoti nibodha me समासेनैव कौन्तेय निष्ठाज्ञानस्य या परः.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, can I speak?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Siddhim prapto yatha brahma tatapnoti nibodha me samaseneva kaunteya nishta jnanasya yapara.
Very good. Mataji?
Just she's went outside, so I will
Okay.
recite. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize.
Very good. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. The Lord describes for Arjuna how one can achieve the highest perfection stage simply by being engaged in his occupational duty. Performing that duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains the supreme stage of Brahman simply by renouncing the result of his work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That is the process of self-realization. Actual perfection of knowledge is in attaining pure Krishna consciousness. That is described in the following verses. So just do our duty and not expecting the result. The result may be good or bad, or favorable, unfavorable. That is not in our hand. But whatever Lord wants, we just execute that. Okay, then He will be happy and we will become perfect. The result is not in our hand. Okay. But if you are on the right path, definitely Krishna will bless us. Just like Pandavas, they were helped. They had to undergo a lot of trials and reversals in their life, but at last the victory was theirs because they were on the right path. So Krishna always stood with them, not with the Kauravas. No doubt they had to undergo a lot of tribulations. Buddhya vishuddhaya yukto dhrityatmanam niyamya cha Shabdadin vishayam styaktva ragadesho vidasya cha vivittase vilagvasi yatha vakaya manasa dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagyam samupashrita ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam parigraham vimuchya nirmamas shanto brahma bhuyaya kalpade. Parvati Mataji and Prabhu.
बुद्ध्या विशुद्धया युक्तो धृत्यात्मानं नियम्य च शब्दादीन् विषयान् त्यक्त्वा रागद्वेषो व्यतस्य च विविक्तासे विलाग्वसि यथा वा कायमानसा ध्यानयोगापरो नित्यं वैराग्यं समुपाश्रिता अहंकारं बलं दर्पं कामं क्रोधं परिग्रहं विमुच्य निर्ममा शांतो ब्रह्म भूयाय कल्पते.
Translation, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance, and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship, and peaceful. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. Hare Krishna.
So Krishna is telling what actions will take us to the position of self-realization, how we can attain the self-realization, so how we should act. So being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification. So usually, the senses have the corresponding sense objects. Okay, the eyes want to see beautiful forms, the tongue want to taste beautiful dishes, and similarly all other senses have the corresponding sense objects for sense gratification. So we should give up that objects of because who actually is the Purusha, who is the enjoyer, who is the enjoyer, actual enjoyer, who is the enjoyer? Vishnu. Okay, he is the only Purusha. They are all Prakriti. Although we may have, some of us may have a male form, some of us female form. So doesn't that, those who are having male form is a Purusha. Even though we may have a male form, we are still considered as Prakriti. In connection with the Supreme Lord, we are all feminine in gender. So the only enjoyer is who? Supreme Lord Vishnu. So in relation with Vishnu, we are enjoyed. So he is the person who is the enjoyer. We are all being enjoyed. So giving up the objects. So we should not think that we are the enjoyer. We are Purushas. We are Prakriti. Okay, we are being enjoyed by the Supreme Lord. But we should not take up the position as a Purusha. That is where everything goes wrong. So that's why he said, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment, hatred. One who lives in a secular place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind and power of speech, who is always in trance and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material, free from false proprietorship and peaceful. Such a person certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. Why free? Why? Because if we don't free from this false strength, false pride, false ego and all, what will happen? It will bind us to this material world. I, me and mine, having that false proprietorship. Yes, we are proprietor of, this bank balance. We are proprietor of this house. We are proprietor of this. Yes, it's for some time, for particular time only. We are not eternal proprietors. So that's why we have to free from this false. This is false because it is temporary. If we are the proprietor eternally, yeah, then we can claim. Eternally, who is the proprietor? The Supreme Lord. Isavasam idam sarvam. Okay. Supreme Lord is the eternal proprietor of all that we see and we don't see also. So we have been allotted a certain quota for a particular time, and we are the custodian of that things for a particular time. So we should not claim proprietorship for eternity. That's why we have to free from that false ego, false strength, false proprietorship, everything. And this will pave the way to self-realization. If you keep that, this is mine and I am doing it, I am the proprietor, owner, controller, then that will not free us from the material world, from this material world. So if you want to get ourselves free from this material world, which is also again temporary, we should avoid all this false claim. When one is purified by intelligence, he keeps himself in the mode of goodness. Thus, one becomes the controller of the mind and is always in trance. He is not attached to the objects of sense gratification and is free from attachment and hatred in his activities. Such a detached person naturally prefers to live in a secluded place. He does not eat more than what he requires and he controls the activities of the body and mind. Now, of course, now it is not possible for us to go and live in a secluded place also. Even if you go, what will happen? Suppose we live Okay, I don't want to, because this society, totally contaminated, and I cannot leave. Lot of distractions are there. If you go to a sacred place, to a forest, what will happen to us? Can we stay there for long? If our consciousness is not purified, and if we prematurely go there, we may be in a sacred place without any people surrounding us, but our mind will be wandering. The activities of the city, what is happening to my relatives, to my wife, husband, children, my friends. So that will be running in our mind. So even if you go to a secular place, if our mind is not there, only our physical body is there, there is no use of going there. So here, even if we are in the city, but still we can live like that we are in a secular place, provided our consciousness is purified. We bring our consciousness into mode of goodness. So he has no false ego, because he does not accept the body as himself, nor has he a desire to make the body fat and strong by accepting so many material things. Because he has no bodily concept of life, he is not falsely proud. He is satisfied with everything that is offered to him by the grace of the Lord, and is never angry in the absence of sense gratification, nor does he endeavor to acquire sense objects. Thus, when he is completely free from false ego, he becomes not attached to all material things, and that is the stage of self-realization of Brahman. That stage is called Brahma Bhuda stage. When one is free from the material conception of life, he becomes peaceful and cannot be agitated. This is described in Bhagavad Gita 2.7d. Apuryamanam achara pradishtam samudramapa pravisandhi yadvat tadvat kamayam pravisandhi sarve sashantim apnoti na kama kami. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So just like so many rivers are entering into the sea or ocean, and what happens to the ocean? The ocean is always calm, still. It's not overflowing. Similarly, a Krishna conscious person is also, is not disturbed by any amount of desires, because whatever activity he is doing for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So he is not agitated at all. It's always, in equilibrium, is maintaining that calmness. Brahma Bhuda Prasannatma na sochadi na kankshadi sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. Jiveshri Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Brahma Bhuda Prasannatma na sochadi na kamshadi sama sarveshu bhudeshu madbhaktim labhate param.
Santosh Prabhu, translation please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. One who is so transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Krishna.
One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service. So, Brahma Buddha state is a liberated state, because he is not at all. He is meaning that neutrality, whether it is good or bad, happiness or distress, victory or failure, he is equipoised. He maintains the equanimity. Such a person will, be placed in the Brahma Bhuta, means liberated stage. From liberated stage, only the pure devotional service begins. Because even if you are in the mode of goodness, it is within the three modes. So one has to rise from even the mode of goodness to the pure mode of goodness if we want to liberate ourselves from this material world. So to the impersonalist, achieving the Brahma Buddha stage, becoming one with the Absolute is the last word. So as far as impersonalists are concerned, that is ultimate aim. because they want to get liberated from this material world. So that is what they want, and once they are attained, they are done with it. No more. But as far as the devotee is concerned, the actual devotional service in pure mode of goodness starts from the Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. That's the stage. But for the personalist or pure devotee, one has to go still further to become engaged in pure devotional service. So that is where exactly our pure devotional service starts for a personalist. This means that one who is engaged in pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord is already in a state of liberation called Brahma Bhuta. One is with the Absolute. Without being one with the Supreme, the Absolute One cannot render service unto him. In the Absolute conception, there is no difference between the served and the servitor. Yet the distinction is there in a higher spiritual sense. So what Prabhupada says, in a way, if you see the served and the servitor, one who is being served and one who serves. Served the servitor, there is no difference in the absolute, but still there is a difference in the spirituals. For example, Lord Krishna and Balram, both are Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, one is served, one is servitor. Okay, one is Sevya Bhagwan, one is Sevak Bhagwan. But in absolute sense, there is no difference, but still there is a difference. What is the difference? One is in the role of a servant. Other one is in the role of a master. So Krishna is the master and Lord Balaram is the servant. So both are Supreme Personality of Godhead, but one is being served, the other one is serving. So that is what the difference here Prabhupada says. In the material concept of life, when one works for sense gratification, there is misery. But in the absolute world, when one is engaged in pure devotional service, there is no misery. So that is both the service. Yeah? One is serving a master. There is a misery because we are just forced to do. We are not happily doing it. We are not doing it from our core of the heart. We are forced to do. I don't want to do, but still I am working because I want to get money. Because the master is not that all pleasing. But the same work we may do, we may endeavor more in devotional service. We may do more efforts or give more time in devotion, but that gives not misery, that gives pleasure, because it is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the reservoir of all pleasure. So when we please such Personality of Godhead, we also derive pleasure, although we may have to take some austerity in our devotional service. So that's why there is no misery in devotional service, but in material work there is misery. So the devotee in Krishna consciousness has nothing for which to lament or desire. Since God is full, a living entity who is engaged in God's service in Krishna consciousness becomes also full in himself. He is just like a river cleansed of all dirty water. Because a pure devotee has no thought other than Krishna, he is naturally always joyful. He does not lament for any material loss or aspire for gain, because he is full in the service of the Lord. So he is above the Dvanda, the duality, because he is not concerned about what is the result or what is the outcome. The only desire is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what is the result? It is not in his hand. He will try his level best and put in the complete effort to satisfy the Supreme Lord. And the result he leaves to the Supreme Lord's will. So he doesn't have to lament when he when he loses something, or he will not be too much joyful or overjoyed when he gets something. So he has no desire for material enjoyment, because he knows that every living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and therefore eternally a servant. He does not see in the material world someone as higher and someone as lower. Higher and lower possessions are ephemeral, and the devotee has nothing to do with ephemeral appearances or disappearances. For him, stone and gold are of equal value. How many of us can steal like that? Yes, Madajis, this question should be, asked to Madajis. Huh? How many of us can see stone and gold?
No one, Prabhuji. Even we are looking variety in gold, rose gold, only white gold, and this pure gold and carat and all.
One has to come to that platform. That is what simply. Whether it is a gold or whether it is stone, doesn't matter. We know everything is either Panchabhuta. Yeah. It may have some material value for some time, but are we going to take it? So what is more valuable than that gold is the Hare Krishna mantra. We know the story of, a devotee who approached Lord Shiva. Then Lord Shiva directed him to Sanatana Goswami, who gave forest money. Then he thought that something better is there. Then he got initiated by Hare Krishna mantra. So that is more precious than anything else. This has material value, but that Hare Krishna mantra has spiritual value, which is very, very rare opportunity to get. So as we rise in the ladder of bhakti, we also will one day come to know that it has the same thing. This gold and the stone, have the same value. We will not differentiate. One is gold, one is. As far as pure devotees, this is, the conception of a pure devotee. We are not talking about people like us. One has to come to that level, because we should value, after all, there is nothing higher than the holy name of the Lord. How the Shad Goswamis lived. If they can, why can't we? We also come, by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, we also come to that stage. But yes, far to go. So this is the Brahma Buddha stage. And this stage, because why? If we have attachment to these material things, we will be bound to this material world. We will not be coming to the stage of Brahma Buddha. So attachment to anything will bind us in this material world. So if you want to cross this material world and come to the stage of Brahma Buddha, then we have to be, on the neutral stage. So that's what Prabhupada is telling, or Krishna is telling. And this stage is attained very easily by pure devotee. In that stage of existence, the idea of becoming one with the Supreme Brahman and annihilating one's individuality becomes hellish. The idea of attaining the heavenly kingdom becomes phantasmagoria, and the senses are like serpents whose poison teeth are broken. So Prabhupada says that in that stage, when we attain that Brahma Buddha stage, personalities will start the pure devotional service to Supreme Lord, whereas the impersonalists want to leave their individuality, lose their individuality, okay, and in that stage, in peaceful stage. But then what Prabhupada is telling, or attaining the heavenly kingdom becomes a phantasmagoria. What is phantasmagoria means? It's just a novelty, just imaginary. It never happens. Why? Because even if we attain that stage, we'll have to come back. It's not for eternity that we are going to be there in the Brahma Buddha or that impersonal Brahman, or we are there eternally in the heavenly kingdom for enjoying. So it is a phantasmagoria in the sense that it's temporary. It is just imagination that we are there for eternity. So the person is, the devotees, actually take up their devotional service in which they derive bliss. And the senses are like serpents whose poison teeth are broken. As there is no fear of a serpent with broken teeth, there is no fear from the senses when they are automatically controlled. The world is miserable for the materially infected person, but for a devotee, the entire world is as good as Vaikuntha, or the spiritual sky. The highest personality in this material universe is no more significant than an ant for a devotee. Okay? Such a stage can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who preached pure devotional service in this age. Okay, so every devotee should slowly and gradually aspire to get liberated from the three modes of material nature and come to the Brahma Buddha stage slowly and gradually. We are every day one step forward towards that. We don't know when we can reach, but at least we are practicing. It all depends our effort and the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Our effort should definitely be there. Without our effort, it is not going to take place. So our effort and the mercy of the Supreme Lord will, make that possible to come to that Brahma Bhuta stage. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati. Okay, and Mataji is telling, then we can find Krishna just like how Yashodamai found Krishna.
Hari Bol. Prabhuji, when you are comparing with the stone and gold, na?
Yeah.
Then I am remembering when I was a child, one of my earring lost. And not me, the full family is coming for searching, Prabhuji. Not only family, neighbors also coming for. And 1 month we will be sad earlier.
Yeah, still if you remember, we'll lament.
Yes, Prabhuji.
I got it or not?
Yeah, did you get it? She's asking, not me, eh?
No.
See the concern, Mataji. Hari bol.
I'm not asking Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji only.
Okay.
Only Mataji can understand this concern, Prabhu.
Very good.
I too lost.
She too lost. No, I don't know. It's a coincidence. Today she was remembering that.
See, Prabhu, Hari bol. There is some connection, Prabhu. Transcendental connection.
Some topic came, and she was. This is your small earring, no? This is a big amount. Like that. So she was just remembering that. Anyway, Hari bol. Okay. So we'll stop here. Hare Krishna.